I'm going to talk about ambition. And I guess that you being here is just showing that you got here this morning shows some ambition. But I'm going to try to amp that a bit. And I've been told that there are a couple of gut-wrenching slides that might be for the not faint of heart. So if anybody's wearing a pacemaker or anything, then set it up to make sure, because there's a couple of slides here that might bring up your breakfast, especially one, and I will warn you before I turn that on. Okay, everybody ready? Thank you. So the thing is, building startups is tremendously much about ambition. And one of the reasons when I meet people, especially young people today, when they're asking me, like, I'm thinking about doing a startup, I really urge everybody to actually try, because I think that building a startup is one of the most amazing self-development things. It does push you to the limits of figuring out who you are and what you're good at and everything else. But there are a couple of caveats on that, and I'll try to go through that. So first of all, why do you need ambition? And most of you guys who see this picture think that I'm trying to show you a picture of a peak, and that's all you think, the peak. He's shown like a cliche picture about ambition, yada, yada, yada. Actually, the thing is, how many here have ever climbed hills or mountains or anything like that? We're being in Slovenia here, there's beautiful mountains. If you didn't, then what the heck are you here? Go outside. It's I love to climb these things. The thing is, everybody who's ever tried to climb anything know that when you get to the peak, you figure out there's the goddamn other peak just behind it. And there you never get to the peak. And when you finally get to the peak, you just you go up and you just go down because you're super tired. And that's the thing about this, is that when you're building startups, and especially actually when you're building startups outside of places like San Francisco, and I'm not like a San Francisco junkie and tells everybody that solution. I actually think San Francisco is pretty bad for a lot of things, many things actually, and I wouldn't urge everybody to go there. But the thing about San Francisco is like the melt pot of everything for a startup. So if you come there and pitch your B2B SaaS sales blah 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 thing, then somebody's just going to turn around and say, "Isn't that kind of like that other company?" And you've never heard about it. So the problem I find with a lot of people who are building their companies outside San Francisco, and even in Florida or Sweden or anywhere in Europe, is that you end up building a little local minima or local maxima. You're building your product, and you think you're building the peak, and you're heading towards that peak, and when you get up, there's another much bigger mountain next to you. And the problem of that doesn't sound like a big problem, does it? But the problem is, if you're building Uber for Ljubljana, it might feel like a great idea when you're having good metrics, but this day that Uber decides to roll in, you're going to be toast. And I don't know, I meet so many startups that when I talk to them, I'm like, this sounds like this other company that is like a big international company or big startup that just raised crazy amount of money, and you sound like you're doing head on what they're doing. And you're like, yeah, but we're going to be the biggest in small country. It's like, yeah, but that's never going to work. And one of the reasons for that, and I think that's the fundamentally important thing, is that if you're raising venture capital, and I'm not saying that all companies need to raise venture capital, but if you need to raise venture capital, if you want to do that, you have to be a category leader. You have to be one of the top 3 companies in the world for this. Which means that you can't say, and I hear this a lot, is like, yeah, but the second that whatever, Uber or whatever, Airbnb, rolls in here, they'll just acquire us. That is not ambition. That is a quick exit. And that is not a VC case. Nobody will touch you. That's why it's very hard to build stuff, for example, in VR and AR right now. Because, Google and Facebook and all of the big giants are investing massively in VR and AR. So if you're just doing kind of what they're doing, and your plan is that we're going to get acquired by them, you're never going to get VC funding. You're going to get some local funding to kind of drive you to the next level, but that's about it. It's much better figuring out something where, if we succeed with this, we're going to rule the world, and it's unlikely that we do, because climbing Mount Everest is, as we've seen the last weeks, lethal. And that's okay, because you can just start a company, start trying to build a couple of years, and then fold it if it doesn't work. And actually, that's the mentality where a lot of us Europeans should do. Higher ambitions, just try it, and then fold. And I'll tell you a couple of things. So this is what ambition looks to me. This is ambition, conviction, and sense of urgency. And those are the 3 keywords I really tell you that's super important. Ambition, aiming for the top. You want to go to the highest mountain. You want to be a category leader, one of the 3 best companies in this thing. You look at your metrics and you ask yourself, what metric can we be the world leading in, whatever that is? And it's not going to be revenue, right? You're not going to be the world leading in revenue. Conviction, like when you meet people, you actually do believe that you will be category leader of this. you still know that you're not there yet, but you believe that you want to go there, and you have the conviction to try, and you're going to try everything. If somebody says you need to be in Taipei tomorrow, you're going to like, yeah, what's the first flight? I mean, you have the conviction you're going to do it. And the last part is sense of urgency. And I meet a lot of founders who are just polishing their product a bit more and waiting a bit more and just making sure it's a bit more perfect and protecting it. And the thing is, you can't really do that in the world of today. It is such a horribly fast-paced world. So like you just have to have a panicky sense of urgency. So what I urge a lot of people is set your ambition, like we're going to do category lead of this, then tell yourself what that means this year, tell yourself what that means this quarter, and then break it down week by week, and then hold yourself accountable to those things. Make sure that you have that kind of borderline panic of delivering these things every week. I don't know how many startups I meet, and I ask them, okay, so what's your metric? And I met an electricity company the other day. It was a super interesting new company. I was like, so what's your metric? It's like kilowatt hours delivered. And I was like, okay, how many do you deliver today? Like around 5,000 kilowatt hours. Okay, cool. When we meet next week, Monday, so like 8 days, will you have done 10,000? So like double it? And they just looked at me like, no way. Okay, so what will you do? 5,500 maybe? I was like, oh, can we say 7,000? They're like, okay, we'll try. It's like, sure, you can try, but like, do some conviction. You're going to make it, right? And I'm not saying I'm going to be pissed off by you making 6,900, but it's like, for God damn it, you can't like set your bar to be low. Set your bar high and aim for it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The problem is, and this is the slide for the faint of heart. I'm sorry for anybody who lost their breakfast now. The thing is, anybody with those things I just tell you, they can tend to sound like assholes. So watch out. I mean, you have to be very humble about what you are and who you are. I mean, you have to be saying, I have this ambition, I have this conviction, I have this sense of urgency, but hey, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm really trying hard. Help me out. Like, watch out, because you can easily turn into people like this, and then that's not good. You might end up being like the President of the United States. That's a bad thing. So this is what I'm after, right? And so how do you get there? How can you drive yourself to be this crazy person without being an asshole? And I would say most of people are like, oh, yeah, read a lot of books. And the thing is, no. I mean, there's, like, you can read the best management books, the best blah, blah, blah books out there. That's sadly not going to help you that much. Learning these things, some of them come from books. The thing is, I'm an avid reader. I'm like a crazy reader guy. I love reading. But a lot of the things I learned about these didn't come from books. Books taught me skills that I needed. And I can tell you, reading a lot of books is great, so do that, but don't think that's going to take you on the ambition conviction level. But the thing is, it looks like this. It looks like having manically taking notes. Like everybody you listen to, you take notes. What do you mean by that? Like, explain that. Why? You listen to podcasts, you take notes yourself, you write questions, like, why is this? What's our hypothesis? What do we believe about this? Review your old notes. I had a long, oh, sorry, I thought somebody was reading. I have a thing, I tell people, raise their arm when I'm speaking too fast. So I thought like, oh, God damn, now I'm speaking too fast. So I talked to Tomasz yesterday, who was on stage, and we do the same thing, which is like we write the evening before. We try to write the 3 things we want to do tomorrow, and you know, some of them are really small things. Tomasz said one of the things he's aiming to succeed with in April is get a passport for his cat. Like seriously, it's one of his goals. Of course, he needs to do that. And the thing is, if you start writing what you want to achieve this week, what you want to achieve tomorrow, you're going to check off that list. You have to start setting your own ambitions, and that's the only way. You're going to fail constantly. But that's the only way we learn. And it also looks like this, actually. Meeting a lot of other people at coffee shops, at bars, at meetups, and talking about them. Like, what's the best B2B SaaS company you've ever heard? What's the best IoT company you've ever heard? Can I go and meet them? Call them. It's like, hey, I'm Jim Bob from country X. I don't know anything. I'm actually in Bratislava, Berlin, Stockholm, San Francisco next week. You're not, but anyways. And I was just thinking I could drop by for a coffee. They're like, oh, if you are in Tokyo, then yeah, sure, let's meet. But you're not traveling here for my sake. No, for God's sake, I'm being there anyway. And then when they say yes, you buy a ticket and you go and meet them. You're like, yeah, casually coming in. It's like, I'd love to pick your brain. Just be casual about it. And meet a lot of people. Talk to a lot of them about what you're trying to do. Don't like, yeah, let's sign an NDA, because that's never going to work. And it also looks like this, actually. There's so much stuff online. There's amazing content, both podcasts and, I mean, what Y Combinator did with Startup School. You can listen to all these people who did all these things and just listen to them constantly. Like a lot of the founders I work with, I just tell them, this is a great podcast, this is this, listen to that. And they listen to it while doing laundry, while cooking, while jogging, whatever thing. When you're with your kids and family, don't listen to it because they tend to get angry. But otherwise, just do this constantly. Just listen to all the people that try different things. Don't take their word for being truth or anything, but listen to them and think what you believe and look at your notes and course correct constantly. And so the thing is, the worst thing you can turn up as a startup is becoming a zombie. So becoming a zombie is really one of those startups where like when you meet them and you're like, oh, we're almost cash flow positive and we're starving ourselves to be more and more cash flow positive. And how long have you been around? 7 years now. And you're like, for me, that sounds like either this is a cash flow business, a lifestyle business, or if it's a startup, fold it and move on. A zombie business is the worst place you can find yourself in. Just quit it and do another one. And a lot of people I find, they end up being here because they feel they're almost there, and they starve themselves to success. Like I talked to a startup 3 days ago, a startup invested in, and they said, we're going to succeed with these metrics, blah, 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 in the fall. And I was like, okay, cool, how are you going to do that? One of the things is we're going to get rid of Holly, the person who runs marketing. Why? Because otherwise we can't otherwise we can't figure out our sales metrics because she's just a bit too expensive. It's like, what? No. Why don't you increase your sales goals? And the founder was like, well, that's going to be really hard. Yeah. But I think Holly could be instrumental in figuring out because she runs marketing. So like, work with Holly to reach your sales goals instead of getting rid of Holly and starving yourself. So the other thing is that you have to figure out if you're doing a volume or a value play. That's another thing I find a lot of people. So volume play means that you have an amazing amount of users or customers or whatever that pays you some money. Or you go for a value play, which is like you charge a lot and you're very critical to some. And a lot of people I find, they end up being in the middle. They won't have that many users and they're not charging them that much. So think about that. When you're building your startup, you do the math. You start by inspecting things, as our dear leader does. Inspect it and think about what should I multiply by what? Are we like, how do I get to 100 million annual recurring revenue? Is this 100 customers paying me $1 million a year? Or is this 1 million customers paying me $100 a year? I'm not telling you they're going to be there tomorrow, but if you don't do that math, if you end up saying it's going to be like 10,000 customers paying me, the problem is that that's actually a hard domain to be in. It's much easier to be an extreme. If you're the one that have, few customers that pay you shitloads, you're going to be super critical for some, you're going to have professional services, you're going to live with them, super high customer intimacy, and you're going to make sure to build it for them and be really critical. If you're a volume play, you got to figure out, okay, who are those 100 million people that we're going to reach, or million people that we're going to reach that are going to pay us this? And how do we get in front of them? How do we get them to just click and move on? And have one of those extremes in mind. I promise you haven't done this homework. The other thing is get your ducks in a row. A lot of companies I meet, they want to, can we get in front of media now? Can we start scaling now? And it's like, no. The process looks like this. Find a problem that you want to solve. Make sure that problem is a real problem. Talk to a lot of people before starting to code. I mean, yesterday, our Brazilian friend, who I lost the name of, who had an amazing talk, talked a lot about at length how the next time he's not building anything, he's just talking to people first. I totally agree with that. Find out the problem. And when you find out the problem, ask people why it is a problem to them and what alternatives they're using to solve it today. And if they're saying they're not trying anything else, we have never tried solving the problem, it's not a problem. But if you talk to people and say, yeah, we're trying to solve it like this, oh, good. Why is that not working? And when you figured out that, then you start building the product and the solution. And then you become maniacal about solving that problem for that target group the best way. You don't have to start building anything before you know whose problem is it, what is actually the problem, and how they're actually trying to solve it. And the thing is, a lot of you guys who are doing this right now, go back and do this. Like one of the first startup I built, 3 years in, when we had 3 of the world's biggest customers literally 3 of the world's biggest companies in the world as customers, I hadn't done this homework. So I went and asked them, seriously, why are you buying our product? And we had an amazing discussion that made me change a lot of things in our product. Why are they buying the product? Who are they and what are they using instead? Then start focusing on the product. And when you focus on the product and you know that you're solving it, then you go to scale and growth. And that's when you want to be on the first page of TechCrunch and Time Magazine, whatever. You don't need to chase media before you've figured out how your product works. Ambition, conviction, and sense of urgency. And I've blogged extensively about this, and I'm super happy to talk to you. If you wanna ping me, if you wanna have a discussion, just reach out to me. From the startups I met here the last 2 days, day and yesterday, I think they're amazing companies. I'm super impressed by a lot of people I meet here, actually really impressed. But I wish people had more ambition, conviction, and sense of urgency. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Don't run away. Don't run away. That was great. I mean, that was really interesting. Let's see what kind of question we have. Have you ever felt like your ambition wasn't where it needs to be?
Where my ambition wasn't where it needs to be. So I think that everybody has that, right? I think I bought gym cards, never went. I think that's definitely, everybody has that problem that their egos writing checks their body can't cash. And I have that in certain fields. Absolutely. I think around work stuff, I think what I do is that I end up trying to figure out a way to get accountability for it. So I end up just telling people. And then I will have to figure it out.
When you talked about the whole thing, do I understand it correctly? You're saying, okay, what you're looking for in founders are people who just have to solve a problem, who've kind of made it the whole life topic to solve this very problem. So it's always the why as the center?
The thing is, as an angel investor especially, the most impressive I find is when I meet a startup and they start telling me about a problem. And I find after a couple minutes, they're very insightful about that problem. And then I'm almost the person asking, so how do you solve it? A lot of people that I meet, they end up talking about the little trinket they build that's so smart. And you're like, so what does it do? It's a full duplex daemon RTP. And it's like, so who is that for? And I'm like, oh, we don't know yet. And I'm joking now, but it's true. A lot of people you meet, you're like, wow, this sounds cool. I don't really, who is using it? I'm not trying to poo-poo in your product. It sounds amazing, but like who? And a lot of people haven't thought about it.
And then it seems like you're a huge fan of the lean canvas. Is that?
Yeah, I think that for me, like anything that works for you. I think that, what I did is one of the tricks personally I did a podcast about the problem we tried to solve, completely not knowing what it was. So I just pinged people on LinkedIn saying, hey, my name is Hampus, I'm building a startup within this. I have no product to sell you. I just really want to talk about how your day and figure out how I can solve your problem. And then I pinged 40 people like that a week. I got usually 4 people who replied to me and said, sure. 2 came to the call. And then I recorded the call and had a long conversation. I didn't have any product. I just talked like, take me through a day, what's the worst part? And then did that, recorded everything, listened to it, sent it to the team, and then went back to them and like had questions. And then like send them the audience that we're doing a podcast about this. Do you think this is okay? And they said yes, most of them. And then published that podcast. And then a lot of people thought that we actually knew what we were talking about, which meant that we got to talk to a lot of other people. And slowly we actually started to know what we were talking about.
And attracted interest by doing that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's like cool by association or a teenager. Like, just stand next to the cool kids in school and somebody thinks you're cool maybe.
That's a bombshell. Now the next question is, what can investors bring to the table to exploit the real potential of an innovative opportunity? I don't quite get the question to 100%.
That's the long question, yeah.
It's
what can an investor bring to the table to exploit the real potential in opportunity? I think that, there's so many things you can do as investors. I actually had to talk about it yesterday.
You did, yeah.
So if you missed that, I'm sorry. The TLDR is just I think that it's about getting somebody external who can just help you figuring out what do first, what's the priority, increasing your ambition, actually being accountable, like yourself being accountable. For me, it's very, very similar to if you're saying, I want to run a marathon, and like you start telling other people about it. It's just like, that's going to be a big difference for you.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Hampus.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.